Hi my friend, it's King Gabriel again, here for another impromptu video. And today's video is balance versus equilibrium. When I say balance, what I mean is, in our experience, in human consciousness that is, there is this thing that happens, a phenomenon that happens where there are usually two opposing forces, two or more, and we try to work through those forces to allow ourselves to be at peace the most that we can, right? And if those forces don't go along really well, we say our life is out of balance, and we say we need balance, we need to find balance, right? It's just about balancing these opposing forces seemingly. Yet, when things are flowing well, we say that, well, we're in balance, life is good, my wife is happy, my kid is this, and we think of those things and we call that a state of balance. Equilibrium, however, is having all those forces already balanced and at their prime power of position and moving forward from there in a powerful way where everything is already understood as a whole and not broken up into little parts to add more here or take away from there, right? Because what we try to do in human consciousness is to make things fair. Fair, F-A-I-R, fair. And when I say fair, what I mean is we try to make sure that each point or each individual aspect is doing exactly the same amount. Now, this does bring around a state of equality, but it doesn't really reflect true justice because some parts are endowed with more strength, more of certain characteristics than the other within human consciousness. On the grand scale, they're all the same because the soul is complete. However, on the individual level, on the level of expression, there may be slight differences. For instance, some people sing better than others. It's not that everybody is going to be the best singer in the world or the best dancer in the world, but when put together as a whole, when you put those singers and dancers together, the creation of the whole is way perfect. It's awesome. It's amazing. A way we can view the difference between balance and equilibrium is if we look out in nature again, and when I say nature, I mean this specific segment where we can see this, because nature is everything, not just out in the trees and all that. But if we were out in nature and we're looking at the trees, right, what we would see was that they're part of a complete system, right? They would take in the carbon dioxide that we breathe out, right, run that through their system, provide oxygen for us, make fruits. Now the fruits are not for the trees. The fruits are for birds or for humans or animals around to eat. When we eat that fruit, the seeds that remain are meant to carry on the species of that tree. So it's working within a complete system. If the tree was thinking of balance alone, like we see balance in human consciousness, then what the tree would do was just form a seed. It would just form a seed and the seed would drop right down into the earth, because that preserves the life of the tree, and that's it. It's not concerned with anybody else in the environment, and that's the difference. Human consciousness focuses on the individual because of the ego, which is meant to protect, right? And to make happy, to protect and to please, right? So if the ego's job is to protect and to please, then it will only think of the individual and make sure that that individual is very safe and feeling good and happy, content, right? So sometimes happiness can be good, but when it is individual happiness, it is not really happiness because it cuts out everything else. If the tree was thinking like that, or if the tree, it is thinking actually, it is a conscious being, but if it was thinking like that, then what would occur was that everything else would be left out of the equation, right? And it is a complete equation. For instance, if you look at the Japanese symbols, the Chinese symbols are yin-yang, right? The black on one side, the white on one side with the little dot. In human consciousness, the understanding of that would be, okay, so in every light, there's a little dark, and in every darkness, there's a little light. You can't leave out any of the aspects, right? But viewed from a higher consciousness, for instance, just divine consciousness, let's step up one level. In stepping up one level, that same thing could be viewed as everything works together and everything is completely balanced, right? And in that complete balance is the full power of creation. It's not going to be just darkness or just light. right? Light and darkness come together, and their full power is beyond perception. It's beyond light and darkness. So understand that what we call light and dark is according to personal perception, positive and negative personal perception yet again. Again, what we spoke about earlier was the higher we move up in consciousness, the closer we move to the divine consciousness intent. The lower we move in consciousness, the further away we move from divine consciousness intent. And that's just the difference. It's nothing significant besides that, right? For instance, in men and women, when we look at men and women, we try to balance out what's happening and say women deserve equal rights and all of that. And yes, everyone deserves equal rights. That is how it is. That is what is supposed to happen here. But what's happening is, it's become such a competition and such a repression by the patriarchal system that women are now stepping into the roles of men completely, right? And we have what is looked at as imbalance, right? But the truth about it is, each individual has a certain amount of, let's say, creative ability, right? According to human experience. And that creative ability is not limited to their gender. Gender is actually meaningless if we really think about it, if we go a step further, right? The gender of a being is not the sexual orientation of a being either, just to be clear. You can have a male body, right, and be very, very endowed with a lot of feminine qualities that you've learned along the way through your soul's journey, etc. And those feminine qualities can affect your environment in a very positive way as well. Whereas a man, also a woman, can have many masculine qualities which can serve her as well. And that's why some women are awesome business people and they go out there and they get it because they do have that masculine drive in them as well. So it's not about man-female in the body. It's about man-female in terms of the gender. And the gender, as I said, is still meaningless. Why it's meaningless is because at the end of the day, it's according to the creative potential of that individual, period. If that the creative potential of that individual is to be really able to take on a lot of stuff, then he or she will take on all of that. And for equilibrium's sake, not for balance, but equilibrium's sake, then he or she would have to contribute more to the environment because he or she has more to give. If you have more to give, you give it. And that's how the system really works. The tree doesn't think, well, you know what, I'm giving more fruit than this tree next to me, so that tree next to me does not deserve to get as much air as I do. No. Why do we think like that is the real question? Why do we think that it's always according to what we see as fair? There is nothing like fair. It doesn't exist. It is an illusion. And we must arise from this illusion together. That is how we step into the divine consciousness of giving to everything, and then we step further into equilibrium like I'm speaking about. Right? So to achieve equilibrium, what we need to know firstly is that balance itself is an illusion. There is no balance because there are no opposing forces. There is one force. One, not two. Balance is always two. It's always about duality. Equilibrium will be one. The two have come together, seem together as one, passed out gender altogether, and they are one powerful united force moving in one direction, unidirectional. And then, knowing that balance is an illusion, to move forward, we can ask for the revelation of our true nature, of our true being. Whichever way you see it as asking, you could ask your higher self or whatever you believe in. I personally would ask my source, the source of my being. That is what I know it to be. I experience that as a very integral part of my life experience, and everything that comes from me is from that. And so that is what I will ask directly. You may call on God, you may call on the Absolute or whatever, Allah, however you see it. It is all the same, and it will give the same thing when you ask. It does come from, through, it's in you, right? So that's number two. You get to that state of asking for the revelation of your true identity, your true being. And so from that state, and from knowing that, right, what happens is the things start coming into your life that you need to have expressed, that you as the soul that is focused in this lovely source of being will bring forward. And when you ask these things, it's obvious that the next key is to listen, right? You ask and then you listen, you receive, ask and receive. And as you receive, you'll find that your consciousness is leading you more and more towards creating more bonded forms that work together for the good of everyone around you and not just the individual self. If you're thinking of the individual self, you know the ego has taken on again. And it's not something to be feared, it's just something to be recognized. You look at it and you say, okay, good. So now I see this in myself. Now I can make the slight change to allow myself to be more open, more receptive, more connected to the whole. And that is how we do it. So we're moving from balance to equilibrium together. Again, any questions, concerns, hit me up. I have an inbox, and you can always ask the questions that you need to. I'm quite available most of the times, and I get back to people very quickly. Have a lovely evening. Eternal love and infinite peace.